All right, everyone, it is the NFL draft, and with the 21st pick in the draft, the Los Angeles Chargers selected Quentin Johnston, the wide receiver from TCU. We have got Locked On Chargers host Daniel Wade. I am Jordan Black, but first, our Locked On NFL draft coverage is presented by Ultimate Football GM. If you think you can run an NFL franchise, visit ultimate-gm.com to play the Ultimate NFL GM simulation game and start your dynasty today. Okay, Daniel, walk us through this pick. Maybe what you said, maybe not what you would have done, but a good idea to surround your young quarterback with a surrounding supporting cast. So take us through the pick. What does Johnston do for this Chargers team?
It's easy to see where he fits, Jordan, because I think he brings one thing to the table for sure that they're not getting with guys like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and that is the yards after the catch ability. Quentin Johnston was one of the best at that in the country last year, averaged almost 9 yards after the catch per reception in 2022, and the Chargers don't currently have that. And I think what he also brings to the table is a little bit more positional flex than they would get with someone like a Zay Flowers, a smaller guy, or Jordan Addison, another smaller guy, a ton of small receivers. And Tom Telesco has only drafted one sub 5'10" receiver in all of his years drafting for the Chargers, 10 seasons. So he went with what he likes, the prototypical 6'2", over 200-pound receiver, and he brings that yards after the catch ability, brings a little bit of juice to an offense that was kind of lacking it, and that's not a great thing when your quarterback is Justin Herbert.
How big is it to get some added help for a young quarterback? We've seen these guys when they get to a few years in to the league and they just get that guy, how much it elevates them. How much do you anticipate that this will be an added help for a guy like Justin Herbert?
Yeah, I think it does help him a ton. And I think the way it helps him specifically is Justin Herbert faces a lot of too deep safety looks as, a rocket armed quarterback, and the ability that he's shown over his first 3 seasons. A lot of teams are going to play it safe and want him to beat them short, right? Quentin Johnston makes it harder to do that because now you have someone who can punish teams who want to play him deep, who can punish teams that say, hey, we don't fear you in any way with slower, older guys like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Now you have someone that can make them double think that, right? And I think when you look at what A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith have done for Jalen Hurts, if you look at what T. Higgins and Jamar Chase have done for Joe Burrow, you could say Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle for Tua Tagovailoa. Like, there's so many examples throughout the league of guys getting those receivers and really taking their game to the next step. I'm not putting Quentin Johnston in the category as someone like a Jamar Chase, but I do think it gives him such a better complement of receivers and also lets you put Quentin Johnston outside so Keenan Allen can play in the slot, right? It gives you those options that you wouldn't have had with a smaller guy. This guy should raise the level of Justin Herbert and really give some juice to the Chargers offense.
You mentioned some things that Quentin Johnston does well. Are there any things that are concerns, things that we want him to work on in the offseason?
Yeah, 8 drops in 2022 is, I think, where I would start. Nobody wants, big plays being dropped, obviously, but I think the biggest thing for me is he doesn't really bring what you would think a 6'2" wide receiver was. I wasn't super impressed with his above the rim ability. I know some people have credited him with that, but you have a guy who does that in Mike Williams, right? I don't think he is a true 4-3 burner type of a guy. That is the only thing I think he doesn't bring to the table that the Chargers could have definitely used, just because none of their wide receivers they currently had before this, outside of Jalen Guyton, who is a recent signing, run a sub 4.5 40. So this guy, I do think, even at around 4.5, brings more juice to those guys, brings you another downfield threat. And I mean, when you have Justin Herbert, you want downfield threats, and you also want guys who can punish the defenses underneath to make them think a little bit differently about how they want to play him.
Anyone who comes to mind for you, current or former, who you could compare this guy to?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. He is a weird kind of receiver just because he's bigger, but he doesn't do some of the bigger wide receiver things that you see a lot of guys being able to do. I think maybe, it reminds me most, I would say, of someone like an A.J. Brown, who's a bigger receiver who provides some ability after the catch. That, I think, kind of works. I think DK Metcalf is another guy, just as far as physically big receivers, but are also super athletic and can also do some things with the ball in their hands that isn't just kind of shucking defenders off, right? This is a dude who broke a lot of tackles, almost 300 yards after contact in 2022. That is a really valuable commodity for the Chargers offense. So if I was going receivers, especially current guys, not total fits, not totally good comparisons, but I think that's what it reminds me of most.
Okay, so the Chargers have 6 more picks. in the 2023 draft. What do they have to do to make this draft a success in your eyes?
I think there's two big positions that I still want them to fill, and it's tight end and edge rusher. First of all, tight end, they have Gerald Everett going into the last year of his contract. They have Donna Parham, who signed a 2-year contract and is a great athlete, but has never been able to stay healthy. And the other part of it is they brought in offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. And one thing he does almost more than any other offensive coordinator is run 2 tight end sets. And the thing about the Chargers tight ends currently, they're not known for their blocking ability. So I think somebody, a well-rounded tight end, would really do this offense a lot of good, because that's how Kellen Moore creates mismatches in the run game. One of the reasons they were so successful in Dallas with their rushing attack with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. And the other big one is edge rusher. Joey Bosa missed 12 games in 2022. Khalil Mack missed 10 games in 2021. And right now, you only have 3 guys in the building at that position. I think that has to be something in this draft class, that you can not only get someone that could spell those guys or fill in if somebody is to get injured, but also to give yourself some insurance, because both of those dudes are making $35+ million in 2024. 2 giant cap hits that are going to be hard to swallow. It'd make you feel a lot better about it if you had somebody in the wings who could learn from 2 really Pro Bowl level edge rushers.
Absolutely. Well, Daniel, we'll be looking forward to the rest of your NFL draft coverage. And for more on the Chargers, be sure to tune into Locked On Chargers for everything you need to know. That is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Daniel, appreciate all of your insight. Thank you very much.